Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. My name is Les Kennedy. I'm the course superintendent at the Blind Brook Club and also the new president of the Tri-State Turf Research Foundation. I'm going to assume here that that's going to get me where I'm at. Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking the MGA and the USGA, Jay and Gene at the MGA and Dave at the USGA for allowing the Tri-State Turf Research Foundation a spot on the agenda for this meeting annually. We are focused on raising funds to contribute to turfgrass research to solve problems of our local area. That's been the impetus of the association or the foundation since it was founded. I'm going to give a little brief history of the foundation and then a little update of some of our successes as well as the ongoing research. And then I'll be on my soapbox a little at the end as an effort. One of our biggest challenges is raising funds, and that's why I'm here to try to encourage everyone here to become an advocate for Tri-State and help us raise some funds so we can continue the fine work that we do. With that, the foundation was founded in 1990, and it was a collaborative effort between the Metropolitan Golf Association and the 5 local chapters of GCSA, the Connecticut, Hudson Valley, Long Island, Metropolitan, and New Jersey chapters. And the idea being that all of us gave money to research, but we did it in small ways. And in those days, the biggest problem we had was summer patch, and that was kind of the impetus that if we all joined together and then raised funds from all the different clubs and businesses, collectively we could make an impact and maybe solve some of the issues of the day. Since that has taken place, some of our standard control practices on a number of different issues are standard for what we do today, but they were discovered and developed through the research that Tri-State has funded. Our mission, it begins with identifying problems to our local area, things that are significant. We survey all the member clubs to discover that. Sometimes with an issue like summer patch or anthracnose or even hyperodes, we don't need to survey people for that. We know it's an issue, ongoing issues that we continue to work towards. From there, we try to raise funds to support the research, and that's one of our biggest challenges. One of the reasons it's so nice to be here before this group this morning. We solicit every club in the tri-state area. We send out about 700 or so solicitations, all the local associations, commercial vendors, and even individual golfers. We're trying to tap into the market of each of the individuals as well. And once we do that, then we try to disseminate all the information that we've been able to gather through the research, and we do that through our website, which is brand new, just up and running, tristateturf.org. Be more than happy to have folks take a look at that. We have our newsletter that goes out each year that summarizes all the research of the previous year. We have a nice little brochure that we send out. We have researchers who do different presentations, and as well as word of mouth from superintendent to superintendent, which that collaboration between the professionals is unlike, I think, most businesses. We are here to help each other as well as try to improve our courses. Our funding success, we have had some success over the 20-plus years of the foundation. We've raised, we've raised close to $1 million over the 20-plus years. We've given back over $500,000 into the research process. We have about a couple $100,000 in invested assets, so that should we have a problem that we can't afford to solve, we have a little reserve fund that we can dip into. This year is one that we've actually accepted more projects than what our budget is. We've kind of overextended ourselves with the expectation that this is going to be a great year for fundraising this year. And again, we're going to lean on all of you for that. And we generate about $40,000 to $45,000 a year. And the sad part is that we only get about 25% penetration of all of our solicitations. That's a little disappointing. I'll talk about that a little bit more as I get further into this. But we would like to see our penetration rate get up to about 75% if possible. The golf world, I've grown up in it. I've been in it my whole life. It's a small group and it's a tight-knit group, but we need everybody to make a difference. So, again, on my soapbox a little bit. And again, thank you to those of you who have supported us. And we appreciate that, and thank you. Who does our research? Well, we have an awful lot of quality professors at the local universities that do all the research for us. They come from Cornell and from Rutgers, the University of Connecticut, Massachusetts, as well as the University of Rhode Island. We'll accept projects from other universities if they're viable to the problems that we have, but that's basically the 5 core universities that we use. Our research partners, we partner with the United States Golf Association, also with the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, and that's through their Environmental Institute for Golf. The New Jersey Turfgrass Foundation is another big supporter of a lot of the projects that we all look at collectively, as well as all the 5 founding chapters. Even though we combine our resources with Tri-State, we also individually support different projects as well. So the idea is to find the issues of the day and try to find problems for those. So it has been a collaborative effort, continues to be. The board of directors, we have 3 members of each chapter that sit on the board. It is a who's who over the years of golf course superintendents in the area. We have several board members here today, I think even a couple of past presidents. Steve Finnemore, our host superintendent here, is a current board member. Guys that are passionate about golf and about their clubs, but not only their own clubs, but about the entire business of golf in the area. They care about other superintendents and how their courses are and the problems that they have, and we're always looking forward, looking for ways to solve those problems. So not only do our own golf courses get better and are managed properly, but other guys' clubs have that same opportunity. And we don't discriminate. Whether you give us money or not, all our research is on the website, in our foundation news. We send it out to everybody, but we look for everybody to help us. Our research goals, number 1 is to identify the causes of the problems. We search for solutions and controls, and hopefully, in doing so, we find environmentally friendly controls as well as economical controls, and maybe the reduction of some of our inputs through this research, which allows us to save money as well as be environmentally friendly as we move forward. Research successes, there's a list up there. I won't go through the whole thing, but over the course of 20 years, as I said, some of our standard operating procedures of today have been developed through the research that we've supported. Some of the highlights of that is summer patch, and again, I mentioned it earlier. That is the one that got us off the ground. A devastating disease, still around today, but the control strategies that have been developed for summer patch have made it a much more manageable disease, one that we have very few problems with if managed properly today. So again, a success from Tri-State. That was our focus at the beginning. Anthracnose, another a disease of advantage. When the turf is stressed, anthracnose takes over. Ever challenging. I think you're even going to see as some of our new projects. Are continued funding of some old projects. Anthracnose doesn't seem to go away. I saw Dr. Clark yesterday at the Sandwich Club. He gave a great update on some of his new work. Potassium and its effects on anthracnose, I think is going to be some of his focus. But again, a great success and one that we continue to work on. On the annual Bluegrass Weevil, which is just a beautiful little critter. He is a nasty little guy, and as big as he looks on that screen, he's about the size of half the size of a piece of rice. It always amazes me how such a little bug can cause such devastation. And again, we're going to continue research on that. But again, a success story. We've had great control philosophies and operations to get the annual Bluegrass Weevil under control. But you know, whether like we've had these last couple of years, and especially this spring, all bets are off. I know we were at Blindbrook making applications this week that we wouldn't be doing for another 3 or 4 weeks. So the Mother Nature really can throw a wrench into everything that we try to do. Our new research projects, we start at Rutgers University, and again, Dr. Clark and Dr. Murphy working on anthracnose control on annual putting greens and annual bluegrass putting greens, and they are working on best management practices for that. I think we'll continue to see improved ways to control this tough insect. Also at Rutgers is Dr. Benro Huang, and I hope I pronounced that right, exploring the use of plant growth regulators, PGRs, and biostimulants to alleviate summer stress and summer decline as well as recovery in bentgrass greens. Some really quality work. At Cornell University, we have Dr. Frank Rossi, and he'll be analyzing the effects of chemical and mechanical putting green programs, management programs, the things that we do every day, and how they affect ball roll. Obviously, green speed is what's got us to where we are today. It's a never-ending battle, and Dr. Rossi is going to try to come up with some results that will help us increase green speeds without lowering our mowers and putting our plants under undue stress. At the University of Rhode Island, we're going to continue funding Dr. Stephen Ahm and his research into that annual Bluegrass Weevil. Dr. Ahm has done some great work, but he's going to continue as the annual Bluegrass Weevil continues to modify itself to the new controls that we come up with. They seem to adjust to that, and we need to come up with more solutions. So those are some of the new research projects that we have. We have some added benefits as well, and one of the big ones, as superintendents, and there's a lot of them in this room, we all train our assistants to become the superintendents of tomorrow. Well, with the research money that we give to our universities, the Turfgrass professors of today use that money to hire graduate students. Those graduate students get paid through the research funds, and they become the researchers of tomorrow, the PhDs. So it's a little added benefit of the efforts that we put out. It's important that not only do we provide the next generation of superintendents, but researchers are the guys that really help us solve the problems of the day. There is more that we can do. There's a lot more that we can do, but it takes money. Always does. I mean, with the increased government regulations, I've got a list up here. The changing climate is, to me, probably one of the biggest ones. Dave mentioned the last 2 years. I mean, we had the hottest, driest summer, the snowiest, coldest winter, the wettest summer, the earliest, warmest spring. I mean, it doesn't seem to end. But those things are always going to wind up with new turfgrass problems. There are always going to be problems, and those problems are going to require money to solve. And we need your support to do that. But more importantly, collectively, as I said earlier, we can make a difference. And I'm going to ask everyone in this room, whether you're a superintendent, a green chairman, a club official, an association official, whoever you are, become an advocate for Tri-State Turfgrass research. We need everyone's help. I know this is the choir that I'm preaching to, but I'd like this choir to go out back to your clubs, back to your friends at other clubs. And if somebody's not sending in a couple $100s to the Tri-State on an annual basis, I think that's a little disappointing. And I'd like to use everyone here to help us increase our funding so that we can do more to help solve the problems of the day. Please make your donation today if you haven't. All those solicitations have been in the mail along with a little letter in our brochure. So take a look at them, send them into your controller. We look forward to those funds rolling in so we can continue to do the great support we have been underway. We also have a new website, tristateturf.org. It's in the development stage, if you will, but it is up online. We have a lot of our past research up there already. There's links to all the local chapters, all the local associations. But most importantly, all of our research here in the short term will be posted on that website. It's free. We don't ask you to pay to look at it, but we ask you to donate to help us. So go to tristateturf.org, take a look. There's also a donation form on that website that you can download, and as an individual golfer, if you'd like to join our list and support us, we'll take checks from just about anybody that wants to send them in. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to see you this morning. And again, Tri-State Turf Research is an organization that's kind of run and controlled by the golf course superintendent, an unusual, maybe a unique foundation in the United States. We do great work. We have a great bunch of guys that focus on it. And I appreciate everybody's support in this room today and as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got 10 minutes to do a 30-minute talk, but we'll get through it. I'm from New York, obviously, so what I'm saying is pretty much dealing with a lot of the New York regulations. In 2012, New York State has 2 new laws we're dealing with. The first being a fertilizer law that went into effect December 1st, 2011. It's pretty much a phosphorus restriction law, but it also has some regulations where you cannot fertilize anymore after December 1st or before April 1st. The law covers any fertilizer that has more than 0.67% phosphorus in it. There are some exemptions. If you're doing a new turf installation, you've got 1 year or 1 growing season where you can use phosphorus. If you have a soil test that shows you need it, you can also use phosphorus. For your vegetable gardens, flower beds, trees, shrubs, there's an exemption for that also. Composts and certain organic phosphorus sources can be used. Not all of them, but some of them. If you have any existing inventories right now in your storage areas that contain phosphorus, they can be used legally until used up. lot of questions come up about phosphite materials. Phosphites, we all use on our golf courses, are exempt. They are not P2O5, they are a whole different composition of phosphorus and can be used. The big question that comes up a lot is foliar fertilization with P. That was never discussed when the law was developed. When I get asked that question, I pretty much refer the superintendent to their local distributor and see how they're handling that particular issue. But there's nothing in the law that prevents you from using it or allows you to use it, either way. The other thing to remember, if you're in a county in like Westchester County, or I think maybe Rockland County also, that already had a phosphorus law before the state law went into effect. Those laws are still in effect and not preempted by state law. So in Westchester County, you're dealing like you have been for the last couple of years. And like I said, maybe Rockland County, I'm not quite sure on that. I know in New Jersey passed a fertilizer bill last year, a little bit more involved than New York's. I think there's training involved. There's limits on how much nitrogen you can go down in an application. So if you're in New Jersey, you should be aware of what's going on over there. Connecticut, as we speak, working on putting together a phosphorus bill. So those of you in Connecticut, keep your eyes open for that. The other issue that developed in New York was water. We now have a water reporting and water permitting law in effect as of January 1st. This law passed last summer to replace a water reporting law that we've had for the last 3 years. The final regulations to implement the law are currently being written, but what I'm going to say is what we know at the present time and are subject to change. Facilities that have the ability to withdraw a minimum of 100,000 gallons of water per day are covered under the law. It's not that you do it or you don't do it, it's you have the capability. If you're below that threshold, or receive all your water from a municipal source, if you're buying your water from the city or town, you are not covered under this law. Your supplier has to be doing the reporting. Construction of new water withdrawal systems, such as wells, new ponds, new pump stations, will not be allowed without getting a permit first. And existing facilities, as this law is phased in, will not be able to legally operate without a permit. DEC, through Division of Water, will have the authority to grant or deny a permit, or issue a permit with conditions attached. And these permits are being talked about being valid for 10 years. For those of you who had your packets, like this is all covered in your packet. I'm going to do an abbreviated version. There's a green sheet that has all this information on it. The law talks about what's called an initial permit. Those of you who have done your water reporting religiously over the last couple of years have reported last year's usage by last February, this past February. You're going to be able to go through a slightly easier and abbreviated process to get your permit. It's going to give a little bit more time to get it done. It's going to be phased in between February 2013 and February 2017, depending on your withdrawal amounts. People using on most water will be permitted next year. The minimum users in 2017. In my case, I can pump out 1,200 gallons a minute, which is 1.7 million gallons a day. So my club has to get permitted by 2016. Now, if you have not reported your water usage for the past year, you're going to go through what's called a standard water permit, and that's going to be applied for by next February. It's going to be a little bit more complicated system. We don't know exactly how more complicated, but it will be more complicated. There's even talk of public hearings being held as part of the permit process. Now, what's going to be required in the application process? First of all, you'll need an engineer's report, cover everything from soup to nuts on your system. Water flows, well flows, that type of thing. The DEC is estimating that cost the average club somewhere between $5,000 and $25,000. For wells, if you're operating on wells, 72-hour pump test would be required. For surface water out of a pond, you're going to be doing what's called a safe yield analysis. I'm not sure what that means, but that's in the regulations. That could cost up to $10,000. The preparation and submission of a water conservation program will be required. And this plan will demonstrate the applicant's water conservation and efficiency measures. Such measures would be things as metering, leak detection, repair of leaks, and reductions during a drought. DEC, once again, is estimating preparation of this program between $500 and $5,000. And lastly, although pretty vague at the time, the regulations mention public involvement through a written comment process. And while I'm talking about the regulations, the Metropolitan Golf Course Superintendents, under the leadership of Bob Nielsen, is pulling together all the superintendent organizations around the state of New York and are going to attempt to have best management practices written at Cornell University to help us get through this regulatory climate. So we wish Bob all the success in getting that done. Thank you, Bob. There are, in the metropolitan New York area, there's one exemption. It's Long Island. Most of Long Island is running off wells that are already being permitted, so they will not be impacted by the New York State law. Another part of the regulations deal with how you monitor your water usage. You will need flow meters. They'll need to be calibrated and on a routine basis. Initially, get a calibration. 5 years down the road, another calibration. Any new wells that are put in have to have a method of measuring the level of that well on a continual basis. New ponds will need to be set up with a way to measure the level of your ponds and keep track of that for you. All permanent facilities need to keep records. It'd be like almost like your pesticide records pertaining to your water conservation and your efficiency use goals. And then this record keeping will need to be kept 5 years at the facility. And as with pesticide inspections, DEC through the Division of Water can come in and look for your records and take a look at them. So, in a nutshell, that's the law. Just read the green sheet and you'll get a little bit more information on it. There's also a website you can go on to read up on exactly what's involved. And once again, even though this is supposed to take place for some people by next year, the regulations are not fully drafted yet. There's a lot of comment that came from industry, and they kept extending the comment period for 2 or 3 times. So the last comment period ended in February, and the regulations are still being worked on. So that, any questions? Yeah, Joe?
Mike, I just find out what your is 2016.
The DEC has a chart based on your usage. In my case, I can put out 1.7 million gallons. The table shows where I fall in that calendar. So
1.7 is 24-hour period?
that's a 24-hour period. I can put out 1.7 million gallons. So in my case, that's 2016. Your case, I would guess, would be earlier. The more water you use, the quicker you have to do it. You'll be one of the first. Any other questions?
Michael, what economic impact statement that we did on the New York State Turfgrass Association 4 or 5 years ago has helped within legislation and all that?
Help? Zero. No help at all. The legislators were not, they were convinced they needed this. They needed this for a couple reasons. The main reason was the hydrofracking issue that's developing in upstate New York. Hydrofracking uses a lot of water, and the state needed a handle on where this water was, how much water was going to be used, and how they could regulate it. So golf courses, ski areas, we just got stuck in the middle of it. It wasn't designed to go after golf courses and ski areas. It was the big users. Plus, the federal government is mandating parts of New York that are in certain watersheds to come up with a water management plan. Most of those watersheds are in upstate New York. But it made it easier for the state to come into compliance with those upstate laws by just passing a law for the whole state, make everybody safe. So, to answer your question, I sat down with the DEC. DEC had no intention of changing the law, exempting golf courses, making it easy for golf courses. That wasn't going to happen. We even tried to get it in under the agricultural exemption, and that was not open for discussion either. New York is, I always hear, we did this in Connecticut, and we were able to work with Connecticut. That's true. Connecticut is a lot easier to work with. New York State's regulatory climate is unreasonable. And until you go through it, you don't realize how unreasonable it can be. So, that answer your question? Any other? Okay, I'll be around today through lunch if anybody has any other questions. Thank you.